Hello, my overthinking obsessive thinkers. When you get on that merry-go-round and that loop and you just keep going and spiraling, and then you pull out your inner Steven Spielberg and Stephen King and you start writing storylines based on what could happen and what you could have done. You start redoing things. Yeah, that's not going to work for you. That means you're not living here. And if you're not present, if you're living in the future and you're living in the past, you're not living anywhere, because those two things do not exist. I don't care. I mean, the past exists in the past. You're not coming back to it. You're not getting that time back, right? I don't care how hard you want it to be, how hard you try, how hard you do. It's done. What's going to happen 5 minutes from now is going to happen 5 minutes from now. Can't always prevent it. So when you get on that obsessive loop, now, yes, is it attributed to something? You can be an overthinker. That's different than being an obsessive thinker. But you can overthink, like, oh, I got this new date tomorrow. Like, I'm going on a date. You can start overthinking what you're wearing. Oh my God, do I like this blouse? I don't know if I like this blouse. Does it make me look good? How do I look? How's my butt look in these pants? Da, da, da. Okay. That's healthy. That's very normal, because you're like, oh my gosh. Where it becomes a problem is you go, well, what if I wear that shirt? Oh my God, what if that's not the color that they like? Oh my gosh, if I come out there and I show them and then I have anxiety in the middle of this date, oh my God, they're going to think I'm crazy. They're never going to date me. Oh my God, how am I going to control that anxiety? Oh my God, okay. Oh, okay, I'm going to have to take an Ativan before I go. Okay, now you start obsessively thinking. You start playing out scenarios that haven't even happened. You start saying, you don't know. You don't know, right? Just because, let's say it's a friend. Historically, your friend has always done blah, blah, blah. You don't know what they're going through today. You don't know if they've changed it up. You don't know if they have personal growth. You have no idea. So don't just assume you know. Now, that being said, sometimes it's just ingrained in people. Like, there's days I don't people. Like, it's not just going to magically be like, oh, she's going to people today. It's just, you guys know after work, I'm not a big peopler, right? So you got to know that. Don't try to change it, right? But here's the thing with when you are obsessing and you're going down that rabbit hole. Here's what I want you to do. There's tons of different things to do. And like I said, it's attributed to a lot of things. You know, it can be because you are in the need to be in control, which we know is its whole other problem, right? Which I'll talk to you about in a podcast or on here. And you know, you have to understand that it can come from anxieties. It can come from depression. If you have bipolar, schizophrenia, if you're ADHD, if you're OCD, there's a lot of things it's attributed to. So don't just go self-diagnosing, talk to your doctor about it. And yeah, there's some really good medical treatments for it, like medicine treatments for it, as well as therapies and coaching, really good things. But guess what? At the end of the day, you may just be that person who's just always going to overthink because you refuse to let it go. So there's some things that you can do. Number one, it's always going to be mindfulness, coming back to here. As mentioned in the beginning, time doesn't exist in any other time but this one right here. It doesn't exist in any other time. I don't care how bad you want it to. It doesn't. Okay. So here's something you could do. I want you to, and you can do it with animals, you can do it with foods, you can do it with countries, you can do it with anything you want. The moment you catch yourself on a loop, it's going to be harder for you if you go, I'm obsessive thinking, get out of my head, get out of my head, get out of my head. Oh my God, get out of my head. Just like anxiety, what you resist is going to persist. What you run from will chase you. So just because you're telling yourself to get rid of this thinking, right? First of all, you got to do the 5 journals. Got to do your 5 journal series. Make that consistency for yourself, because when you do that, you're going to have a place to dump it. So it's not going to live rent free in your head. However, so now let's say you're like on this loop and you're like, oh gosh, I got this meeting. Oh my God, what's this meeting going to be? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. While you're spiraling, check yourself and go through the alphabet and name something that starts with that letter. So let's say I'm doing food. Doesn't just have to be fruit, food. In my brain. And a lot of times I'll just say it out loud, especially if I'm overthinking like by myself or whatever, you know, I will say it out loud. So I'd be like apple, banana, cantaloupe, dragon fruit, eggplant, you know, so like you go through it, right? Because it's a pattern interrupter. The whole idea of doing this is to interrupt the pattern of this loop that you're on and to realize that you are allowing yourself to stay on this loop. because you're not allowing yourself to process it. You're still trying to figure out the why. You're trying to figure out why people act the way they are. You try to figure out why they do what they do. You try to figure out what their real reason is and how could somebody do that, and why wouldn't they do this if they know how it makes you feel, and why don't they have that boundary, and why? Okay, that's a lot. So number one, you always have to bring it back to self. Because if you're worried about a test, if you're worried about a meeting, you're giving life to a situation that you have no control over. You can't control how another person thinks. You can't control how another person sees things. It's just not going to happen. Okay. So you got to be really clear in that. So when you do the pattern interrupters, that's why tapping on your fingers are good. And you can combine the two. So if you're going to count and tap, it's breathe, right? Get some deep cleansing breaths and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. But then the second time you go around, feel the little, the little ridges on your like fingerprints. Feel that, right? And then go backwards, right? And then do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can combine all of that. You can go apple, banana, like you can do it on there. Cantaloupe, eggplant, right? Figs, grapes. What's a good one with H? What's a food with H? Hot dogs. H, ice cream. So you just go down there, but do you see how it forces you to go, wait a minute. So you're just rechanneling what you're focusing on, and you're doing something that you can control. You can control interrupting your brain. You really can, right? And again, I would definitely talk to your doctor about it, because there's some good SSRIs that really help tone it down, as well as various, therapies and coachings that can really give you the tools and strategies for it. And then going with your ego and unboxing the fact that you can't control anybody or everybody or anything else. You can only control your reaction and yourself. That's it, babe. I don't care how much you want to, will it? It's not going to change. So there's a radical acceptance that comes into play with that, because things are out of your control. You don't have to like it. You don't have to love it, but it is what it is. And so as you are interrupting your brain, you can do that. That's why I'm sure you've heard of the five, where you visualize 5 things too. So that's another pattern interrupter. So, and that's good. Like if you start feeling yourself flustered, I'm sitting outside of Walgreens. I'd look at the red, like Walgreens sign. I would look at that there's a black car over there. I would look at this blue frog that I have in my car. I would look beside me at my bag that's got a navy blue in it. And I would look at this, and it's got my case, right? So there's various pattern interrupters, but you're going to have to be okay with letting go of the answer sometimes, because a lot of what you're overthinking is you want to make sure that this is going to work before you do it. I don't want to start this new business if I don't think it's going to be successful. Well, then you're never going to grow, right? Because if you're always waiting to make sure it's going to work out, again, it's either successful or it's learning. There is no failure. You either are successful at what you're doing, or you learn what works and what doesn't work, period. But if you find yourself spinning out of control, especially if it comes to another person, what are they doing? Who are they talking to? Okay. Wow. Ooh, no, that's your insecurities, and we're going to need to get a handle on it. So you got to be careful too of role playing in your head what those people are doing, in your mind, what you think they're doing. And then it goes on loop, and then it gets worse. And then you add a new variable, and then you go, I knew I was stupid, right? It's kind of like if you have a dream about your partner cheating on you and you wake up and you're mad at your partner, you're like, what? I know what you did. What? I know what you did. What'd I do? You know what you did in my dreams. Oh Lord, so you can't do that. Don't get mad at somebody because you had a dream of something. Everything is not a vision. Some things are visions. Everything is not. You know that dreams are really, dreams, not visions. Dreams are really reflective of things you're dealing with, your inner turmoil, your fears, your insecurities, things like that. So that's just a few of many. I love overthinking. I don't love to do it. I love talking about it because there's so many ways that you have control. You don't realize how much control you have in your life. You're just giving it to everybody else, right? You're letting them control your moves by the fear of them not liking you, or, your own voice that says, oh, I better be safe and do this. Remember, the same walls that protect are the same walls that imprison. I don't care how you spin it. So try that. I would love for you to try the alphabet one. It's really good. And it's fun too, because sometimes you can do it with another person and it's a lot easier because you're like, oh, I didn't get that one. And some things are just not going to have it, like an X. Like if you're talking X-ray, that's there, but I don't think there's a fruit with an X. I don't think so. So, but you'd have to really think on it, right? So it forces you to do that and interrupts that pattern.